In the heart of Neo-LA, where the sun seemed to shine a little too brightly on the chrome and glass, Jack Wren had a job unlike any other. He was a neural modifier, which was a fancy way of saying he fixed brain-computer interfaces for a living. Most days, it was a thankless job, plucking people from their own digital disasters, like the time he had to reboot a client who had accidentally linked himself to a 24-hour cat video stream. Watching the man, a balding marketing executive named Ted, go from confident to utterly lost was both tragic and hysterical. The poor guy had spent 30 minutes meowing and chasing after a pixelated tabby before Jack finally managed to sever the connection. "All right, Ted," Jack said, smirking as he unhooked the electrodes from Ted's temples. "Welcome back to reality. You know, if you wanted to spend your life watching cats, there are cheaper ways to do it. Like, adopting one." Ted blinked rapidly, still shaking off the digital daze. What happened? I was supposed to be pitching my new product." Jack rolled his eyes, leaning back in his squeaky office chair, which had definitely seen better days. "And how'd that work out for you? My grandma would be so proud of you, marketing a cat litter that doesn't exist." Ted groaned, running his hands through his thinning hair. "I'll just add it to my resume, skilled in feline-themed escapism." Just as Jack was about to give Ted some half-hearted advice on sticking to more human pursuits, his eyes caught something on the screen of his hidden terminal, a glimmering advertisement for something illegal, a black market device claiming to control human thoughts through advanced neural links. Curiosity piqued, Jack's brow furrowed. "What's this now?" He clicked the link, a dangerous thrill coursing through him. The video showcased a slick, charismatic man, Dr. Hargrove, smiling with all the warmth of a used car salesman. The device he promoted was wrapped in a silver casing, sparkling as if it held the secrets of the universe. "Control thoughts directly? This can't be good." Jack had always been a bit of a rogue, but this was a different ballpark. He believed in free will. He believed that people should be the architects of their own minds. This device threatened that, and the irony wasn't lost on him. He was a modifier, but he never sought to manipulate. "What's going on in that brain of yours, Jack?" Ted asked, sensing the shift in mood. "Just some unsettling news," Jack muttered, already plotting his next move. He turned to Ted, who was still looking a little dazed. "You know what? I think you've had enough excitement for one day. Maybe take a break from the digital nonsense for a while. Go pet a real cat or something." Once Ted shuffled out of the office, Jack flipped the neon sign that said "Open" to "Closed" and grabbed his jacket. He was determined to find out more about the thought manipulation device. It was time to infiltrate the black market. The neon lights of the underground tech expo flickered like a heartbeat as Jack entered a dimly lit warehouse, the air thick with a mix of sweat and the faint smell of burnt circuitry. A sign over the entrance read, "The future is here, for a price." Everywhere he looked, bizarre gadgets buzzed and hummed, from devices that could project memories onto walls to ones that promised to enhance empathy. He chuckled at the sight of a booth selling mood modulators, tiny, flickering lights that claimed to make you feel happier. "Hey, wanna feel euphoric for $15? A vendor called out, his eyes wild with excitement. Jack shook his head, navigating deeper into the chaos. He felt a mix of apprehension and exhilaration. He was a little out of his element but intrigued nonetheless. After a few moments of wandering, he stumbled upon a booth that was slightly more sinister. A slick banner displayed the very device he'd seen in the video, "Welcome." Interested in a little mind control? A woman behind the counter purred. She had electric blue hair and tattoos spiraling up her arms, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Depends," Jack said, trying to keep his tone casual. "What's the catch?" "No catch, just the future," she grinned. "For a low price, you can have the power to influence thoughts. Imagine being able to get anyone to agree with you." Jack frowned, the laughter fading from his eyes. "You're kidding, right? This is dangerous stuff." "Oh, sweet summer child," she replied, leaning closer as if sharing a secret. "Dangerous is the whole point. Think of it as a shortcut to persuasion." Before Jack could respond, a commotion erupted on the other side of the room. A large man, clearly unhappy, was arguing with a couple of thugs. "I told you I wanted the top model. This is just a glorified remote. Take it or leave it, buddy," one thug snarled. Jack sensed an opportunity and slipped away, his heart racing. He turned a corner and found himself face to face with the mastermind behind this chaos, Dr. Hargrove, his slicked back hair gleaming under the fluorescent lights, surrounded by a group of admirers. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, waving his hands dramatically, "welcome to a new age of cognitive evolution." Jack's instincts kicked in. If he wanted to expose this man and his technology, he'd need to gather evidence. He could see Hargrove's arrogance spilling over, his vision of a controlled society intoxicating the minds of those present. Suddenly, Jack felt a shove at his back, and he stumbled forward, colliding with a table piled high with gadgets. A small device, a mood enhancer, tumbled to the ground and shattered. The air filled with colorful sparkles, and the room erupted into laughter. "Oh no! My device," the vendor cried, as everyone nearby doubled over in fits of giggles. Amidst the chaos, Jack made a beeline for the exit, heart pounding. Outside, the cool night air hit him like a slap in the face. He needed a plan. He needed help. That's when he bumped into Lila, a tech journalist he recognized from her viral articles exposing corporate corruption. She had a reputation for fearless reporting, and Jack knew he'd struck gold. "Jack Wren, right?" Lila said, tilting her head, her dark hair framing her determined face. "What are you doing here?" "I'm looking to take down Dr. Hargrove and his mind control scam," he replied, his voice steady despite the rush of adrenaline. "I'm in," Lila said without hesitation. "This could be my ticket to something big." Their alliance sparked an unspoken chemistry as they devised a plan to infiltrate Hargrove's operation further. They spent the next few days researching, following leads, and trying to connect the dots, often with comedic mishaps, like the time they accidentally broadcast their entire conversation to a group of unsuspecting virtual reality gamers. The gamers, thoroughly entertained, had cheered them on until Lila finally shut off the feed. Jack and Lila eventually discovered that Hargrove's device was already in its final testing phases, set to launch at a massive tech convention in a week. They needed to gather evidence and expose the truth before it was too late. As the day of the convention approached, Jack and Lila prepared to make their move. They crafted a plan to infiltrate the event as tech enthusiasts eager to witness the latest innovations. Jack was excited but nervous. He had a tendency to get tongue-tied in high-stakes situations. "Just remember," Lila said, looking him straight in the eye, "we're not just there to gawk. We're there to expose him." On the day of the convention, the atmosphere crackled with anticipation. Jack and Lila donned their best tech nerd attire, think oversized glasses and geeky t-shirts, as they blended in with the crowd of eager attendees. The air buzzed with excitement and the faint scent of overpriced energy drinks. They navigated through rows of flashy booths showcasing the latest in tech, everything from augmented reality glasses that promised to make you see the world through rose-colored lenses to mood-enhancing virtual pets. Jack couldn't help but chuckle at the absurdity of it all. Finally, they found themselves in front of Hargrove's stage. The room fell silent as he took the mic, the lights dimming dramatically. "Welcome, welcome, innovators and thinkers," he boomed, his smile infectious. "Today, we step into the future, a future where thoughts can be shaped, molded, and perfected." Lila nudged Jack. "Now or never." With a deep breath, Jack and Lila pushed their way to the front of the crowd, just as Hargrove began the live demonstration of his device. A nervous volunteer was brought on stage, a young woman who seemed blissfully unaware of the storm about to unfold. Hargrove activated the device with a flourish. "With just a simple connection, we can make anyone believe anything," he proclaimed. Jack felt a tingle of dread in his gut. It was time to act. "Hey, Hargrove," he shouted, stepping forward, causing a ripple of surprise through the audience. "What about free will? You're not trying to play God, are you?" The crowd turned to look at him, intrigued. Hargrove's confident facade faltered, but he quickly recovered. "Ah, Jack Wren, the rogue neural modifier. What a pleasure. Are you here to promote your own brand of chaos?" "Chaos?" Jack shot back, his voice steady. "No, I'm here to promote the idea that people should think for themselves." "You're selling them a lie." With Lila at his side, they began to reveal the truth about the device, the dark side of mind manipulation, the potential for abuse, and the ethical implications of stripping away free will. Dr. Hargrove, cornered and flustered, tried to regain control. "This is all part of a greater good. A world where we can eliminate conflict and enhance cooperation." "But at what cost?" Lila interjected. "You can't control people's minds and call it progress." In that moment of uncertainty, the device began to malfunction, emitting strange noises. Hargrove, flustered, struggled to maintain his composure. Suddenly, it started to project random thoughts into the minds of the audience. A woman in the front row burst out, "I want pizza," while a man behind her shouted, "I'm afraid of clowns." The crowd erupted into laughter, confusion, and chaos as Hargrove's carefully curated presentation unraveled. Jack seized the moment. "See? This is what happens when you try to control thought. People don't need to be told what to think. They just need to be themselves." As the audience began to turn against Hargrove, realizing the absurdity of the situation, he attempted to salvage his dignity, but it was too late. Jack and Lila's message resonated. They had exposed the dangers of the device in the most spectacularly chaotic fashion. Once the dust settled and Hargrove's bravado was shattered, the convention organizers quickly moved to shut down the demonstration. Jack felt a rush of triumph as they escorted Hargrove off stage, the crowd buzzing with excitement about the real implications of thought control. In the aftermath, Jack and Lila became unlikely heroes, their story going viral. The scandal led to investigations into Hargrove's technology, and he faced serious repercussions. The media praised Jack and Lila for their bravery, and Jack found himself in a spotlight he had never sought. As they celebrated their victory, Lila turned to him, a grin plastered on her face. "You did it, Jack. We did it. Can you believe it?" "I can't believe I talked my way out of a disaster," he replied, still feeling the adrenaline coursing through him. In the weeks that followed, Jack found himself reflecting on his life choices. He realized he didn't want to live in the shadows anymore. He had a unique skill set that could help others navigate the often treacherous waters of technology, and he was determined to use it for good. As he considered his future, he got a text from Lila, "How about we start a new venture? Ethical tech consulting, maybe?" Jack smiled at his phone, already picturing the possibilities. They could create a space where technology served humanity, not the other way around. But first, as he sat in his office, now adorned with a new neon sign reading "Open for Business," he couldn't resist a little fun. He grabbed the latest neural link upgrade he had on hand, intending to test it on himself. Moments later, the device buzzed to life, and Jack felt a familiar tingle. "What's the worst that could happen?" he muttered to himself, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. Before he knew it, he found himself standing in the park, unable to speak anything but rhymes. "I'm Jack, the Link Man, here to say, life's a journey, come what may." Passers-by stared in confusion as he pranced around, and he couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. Maybe the world wasn't perfect, but with a little humor and a lot of heart, it could be a lot more fun. As Jack stood in the park, rhyming his way through a series of increasingly ridiculous verses, he caught the attention of a small crowd. Children giggled, pointing at him, while adults exchanged bemused glances. Jack couldn't help but embrace the absurdity. He danced a little jig, his thoughts half focused on the neural link's effect and half on the joy of spontaneity. "Here I am, all in a twist, trying to rhyme, it's quite the gist. Life's a journey, come what may, join my dance, don't walk away." Laughter erupted around him, and a couple of teenagers pulled out their phones, eager to capture the moment. The air was thick with a sense of fun that felt contagious. Jack, buoyed by their enthusiasm, spun around, his arms wide open as if to invite the world to join his silly performance. But amidst the laughter and cheers, his mind was racing. As much as he enjoyed the moment, the reality of his situation weighed heavily on him. He'd exposed a dangerous technology, yes, but the world still teetered on the brink of something more perilous. Dr. Hargrove and his followers wouldn't simply back down. They were bound to retaliate, and Jack knew he couldn't stay in the spotlight forever. Finally, the rhyming spell wore off, and he managed to regain control over his speech. The crowd dispersed, still chuckling, but Jack's thoughts drifted back to the serious work ahead. He couldn't let his guard down. He had to think about how to keep the world informed about the risks associated with neural links. Lila texted him just as he was lost in thought, "Meet me at the cafe. I have some ideas." He rushed over, his heart racing with excitement and a hint of anxiety. At the cafe, the atmosphere was buzzing with chatter, the aroma of coffee mingling with the sweet scent of pastries. Lila was already seated at a corner table, her laptop open, a determined look in her eyes. "Jack. Over here," she called, waving him down. He joined her, sliding into the chair and eyeing her screen. "What's the plan?" Lila leaned forward, her fingers dancing over the keyboard. "We need to capitalize on our exposure. I've been working on a pitch for a new project, something to raise awareness about ethical tech practices. What do you have in mind?" She grinned, her enthusiasm infectious. "A campaign to educate the public on the implications of neural links and thought manipulation. We could partner with educators, tech experts, and even mental health professionals to create workshops and content aimed at promoting responsible use of technology." Jack nodded, his pulse quickening. "That's brilliant. But we also need to ensure that people understand the risks. It's not just about education, it's about empowerment." "Exactly," Lila said, her eyes lighting up. "And we need to do it quickly. Hargrove won't stay quiet for long. He's got connections and resources we can't even imagine." As they brainstormed, ideas flowed like the coffee in their cups. They talked about social media campaigns, informative videos, and community events. The more they discussed, the clearer their vision became. This wasn't just about Jack and Lila anymore. It was about creating a movement that would resonate with everyone impacted by technology. Let's call it Mind Matters, Jack suggested. A play on words that emphasizes the importance of being mindful with tech. Lila beamed. I love it. And we could incorporate personal stories, real-life experiences of people affected by overdependence on technology. It would add a human touch. With the initial plan in place, they dedicated the next few days to building the campaign. Lila focused on outreach, connecting with educators and community leaders, while Jack worked on content creation, crafting compelling narratives about the ethical implications of neural links. They even shot a series of light-hearted, yet informative videos, with Jack humorously explaining the risks while occasionally slipping into rhyme for effect. Don't let your mind be a puppet on a string, stay informed, make your choices, let your own voice sing. They posted the videos online, quickly gaining traction. Social media buzzed with excitement, and the hashtag MindMatters began trending. Jack and Lila were invited to speak at local tech meetups and community events, where they shared their message and encouraged open dialogue about the future of technology. But as they grew more visible, so did the shadows lurking behind the scenes. Jack started receiving cryptic messages warning him to back off. The tone shifted from supportive comments to threats that hinted at danger. You're meddling in things you don't understand, one message read. Stay out of it, or you'll regret it. Undeterred, Jack and Lila pressed on. They realized that every challenge they faced only strengthened their resolve. They held a major event at a downtown auditorium, inviting experts to discuss the risks and benefits of neural links. The response was overwhelming. People flooded in, eager to learn and engage. As the crowd gathered, Jack and Lila took the stage, a wave of nerves hitting Jack. But Lila shot him a reassuring smile, and he felt a surge of confidence. Thank you all for being here tonight, Jack began, addressing the audience. We're here because we believe in the power of choice and the importance of keeping our minds free. Technology is a tool, but it should never control us. The audience listened intently, hanging on every word. Lila followed up, her voice passionate and clear. Tonight, we want to hear your stories and your thoughts. Together, we can create a safer, more ethical tech landscape. They opened the floor for discussion, and people shared their experiences, some funny, some deeply moving. Jack felt a sense of community forming, a collective understanding that resonated through the auditorium. Just as they were wrapping up the event, a commotion erupted near the back. Jack squinted into the crowd and saw a figure, Dr. Hargrove, flanked by a few of his intimidating associates. Isn't this cute? Hargrove sneered, striding toward the stage. A little grassroots movement trying to take on the giants. How quaint. Jack's stomach dropped, but he stood his ground. What are you doing here, Hargrove? Shouldn't you be off somewhere plotting your next scheme? Touché, Jack. But you're playing a dangerous game. I suggest you walk away while you still can. Lila stepped forward, her voice firm. We're not afraid of you, Hargrove. What you're selling is manipulation, and we won't stand by while you prey on people's minds. The audience buzzed with tension, unsure of how to react. Hargrove's associates shifted, ready to back him up if necessary, but the crowd rallied behind Jack and Lila. Get out of here, someone shouted from the back, followed by a chorus of supportive voices. Hargrove's expression darkened. You think this is a game? You're making a mistake, he warned, his eyes narrowing. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Actually, I think we do, Jack said, feeling a surge of confidence. "We're dealing with someone who thinks he can control others. But you don't have that power here." With that, the atmosphere shifted. People began to chant, "Mind matters. Mind matters." The energy in the room escalated, and Hargrove realized he was losing control. "Fine. You'll regret this," he spat, turning on his heel and marching away, his associates following suit, the tension dissipating with their departure. As the crowd erupted into cheers, Jack and Lila exchanged wide-eyed looks, relief washing over them. They had stood up to the very person who had threatened their mission, and they had emerged victorious, at least for now. After the event, as they packed up, Lila turned to Jack, her expression serious. "This isn't over, you know. Hargrove won't back down easily. We need to stay vigilant." "I know," Jack replied, feeling the weight of her words. "But we've created something powerful here. We have people on our side. It's not just about us anymore." They began strategizing their next steps, committed to building on their momentum. The campaign took on a life of its own, inspiring discussions across communities. Jack found himself in a rhythm, alternating between humor and seriousness as they navigated this new chapter. Weeks turned into months, and just as they began to feel secure, the unexpected happened. Jack received a message one afternoon that turned his world upside down. It was an invitation to meet with a tech policy committee in Washington, D.C. They wanted him to testify about the ethical implications of neural links and thought manipulation. Lila was over the moon when he told her. "This is incredible, Jack. This is your chance to bring our message to the highest level." But anxiety prickled at Jack's mind. What if they don't take us seriously? What if Hargrove tries to sabotage us? "Then we make sure they can't ignore us," Lila replied, determination radiating from her. "We'll prepare, and we'll bring everything we've learned. This is bigger than just us." The day of the hearing arrived, and Jack stood before a panel of lawmakers, his heart pounding. Lila was in the audience, her presence grounding him. He had prepared meticulously, practicing his speech and anticipating questions. As he began to speak, he felt the weight of the moment. "Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm here to discuss the implications of neural link technology and the importance of ethical guidelines to protect individuals' freedoms." He spoke passionately about the stories they had gathered through their campaign, the lives impacted by thought manipulation, and the necessity of maintaining autonomy in a rapidly evolving digital landscape. But just as he began to feel confident, a familiar face appeared among the panelists, Dr. Hargrove, now positioned as an industry expert. Jack's stomach dropped. "Mr. Wren," Hargrove interrupted smoothly, "while I appreciate your concerns, I believe you're misinformed about the benefits of neural technology. It can enhance human experience, not diminish it." "Enhance it at what cost?" Jack shot back, his voice steady. "You're selling a dream, but behind that dream is a nightmare of control. People deserve the right to choose how they use technology." The tension in the room was palpable as Hargrove leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with challenge. "Your perspective is limited. You see threats where there are opportunities. We can create a better society, if only people understood. Or if only you didn't aim to control them." Jack countered, the audience visibly engaged. He continued to lay out the risks and the need for regulation, fueled by the stories they had gathered over months of campaigning. As the session unfolded, Jack felt a sense of purpose. With Lila's encouragement and the support of the audience, he spoke truthfully about the ethical responsibility that came with technology. After what felt like hours, the session came to an end. The panel members exchanged murmurs, clearly torn. Jack stepped down, feeling a mixture of relief and exhilaration. Lila was waiting for him, her eyes sparkling. "You did it. You really made them listen." "I hope so," Jack replied, still processing the experience. "But Hargrove won't give up easily. He's not done fighting." As they left the building, Jack felt a mixture of hope and anxiety. They had taken significant steps, but the battle was far from over. Back at their cafe, they regrouped, determined to keep pushing forward whatever comes next. "We'll face it together," Lila said, her voice steady. Jack nodded, feeling the strength of their partnership. Together. And just like that, they dove back into their work, armed with a renewed sense of purpose. They would fight for a future where technology served humanity, not the other way around. Days turned into weeks, and as they navigated this uncertain landscape, Jack found himself leaning more into his role as a spokesperson for ethical tech. The media coverage continued, and their campaign expanded, reaching corners they had never imagined. One evening, while they were reviewing the latest statistics on their outreach, Lila paused and looked at Jack, her expression serious. "Have you thought about what this means for you? For us?" Jack met her gaze, unsure of what she meant. "I mean, this is what we wanted, right? To make a difference?" "Yes, but it's more than that. You've stepped into a leadership role. There are going to be expectations, pressure. It's a lot to take on." "I know," Jack admitted. "But I can't go back. Not after everything we've done. The people we've connected with, they need us to keep pushing." Lila smiled, but there was a hint of concern in her eyes. "Just remember, you don't have to do it all alone. I'm here, and I'm with you every step of the way." Her words meant more than she realized. They solidified the bond they had formed through this journey, one that went beyond friendship into something deeper. As they continued to work together, Jack felt a sense of belonging he hadn't experienced before. Each challenge they faced only strengthened their resolve, and they became a force to be reckoned with in the tech community. But as the threats from Hargrove's camp escalated, so did the pressure on Jack. Late-night meetings, demands from the press, and the constant flow of public opinion became overwhelming. He started to feel the weight of the world on his shoulders. One night, as they were wrapping up a late meeting, Lila noticed Jack's weariness. "You need a break. You can't keep running on empty." "I'm fine," he insisted, though he could feel the exhaustion creeping in. "Fine isn't good enough. You're doing amazing work, but you need to recharge. How about a weekend getaway? Just you and me. No tech, no pressures." The idea sounded appealing, but Jack hesitated. "What about everything we're working on? Everything will still be here when you get back." "Trust me," Lila said softly. "You can't pour from an empty cup." Finally, he relented, realizing she was right. They planned a trip to the mountains, away from the chaos of their lives, a chance to reconnect and breathe. As they drove up winding roads surrounded by trees, the air grew crisper, and Jack felt a weight lift from his shoulders. They arrived at a cozy cabin, rustic and inviting, with a view that took his breath away. Lila opened the door, and the scent of pine filled the space. "Welcome to our escape," she said, grinning. They spent the next couple of days hiking, cooking together, and laughing more than they had in months. Jack felt rejuvenated, the pressures of the world fading into the background. They shared stories, dreams, and fears under a starlit sky, the connection between them growing deeper. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Lila turned to him, her expression serious again. "Jack, I want to talk about us. He felt a flutter of nerves, unsure of what she meant. What about us? I've loved every moment we've spent together, working, laughing, even the tough times. But I want to make sure we're on the same page. This journey is only going to get more intense. Jack met her gaze, his heart racing. I know. And I feel the same way. I don't want to lose what we have. Good, she said, her voice softening. I just want us to communicate. We're partners in this, and I don't want the pressure to come between us. I promise, he said earnestly. We'll face everything together. You mean too much to me to let anything get in the way. Their eyes locked, and in that moment, the unspoken tension melted away, replaced by a warmth that enveloped them. As they leaned in, the kiss was gentle, tentative at first, but quickly deepened into something more profound, a culmination of all their shared experiences and the bond they had built. When they pulled away, Lila smiled, a light dancing in her eyes. Now, that's more like it. Feeling lighter than he had in ages, Jack grinned back, the warmth of connection fueling him as they returned to their cabin, ready to tackle whatever lay ahead, together. When they returned to Neo-LA, they were met with the same challenges, but now they faced them with renewed vigor. Their campaign continued to grow, drawing in supporters from all walks of life, all united by a desire for ethical technology, and then, just as they were hitting their stride, a breakthrough came. A prominent tech conference invited Jack to speak, offering him a platform to reach even more people. He and Lila worked tirelessly to prepare. Jack knew this was a chance to spread their message on a larger scale, but the pressure weighed on him. As the day approached, he felt the familiar flutter of nerves. What if I mess up? He asked Lila, who was busy organizing their notes. You won't, she said confidently. Just speak from your heart. You know what you're talking about, and you have the experience to back it up. On the day of the conference, Jack stood backstage, peering out at the audience. The hall was packed, filled with eager faces, some skeptical and others ready to cheer. Taking a deep breath, he stepped onto the stage, feeling the bright lights wash over him. He opened with a joke, lightening the mood, and slowly eased into the core of his message. I'm here to talk about the future of technology, not just the shiny gadgets and devices, but about the responsibility that comes with them. We are on the brink of something extraordinary, but we cannot lose sight of our humanity in the process. He shared personal stories, drawing from his experiences with Lila, the people they had met during their campaign, and the lessons learned through every challenge. The audience was captivated, hanging on his every word. As he wrapped up, he looked out at the sea of faces. Together, we can shape a future that honors our minds and our choices. Let's make technology work for us, not against us. Thunderous applause erupted, and Jack felt a rush of exhilaration. He had connected with them, shared his truth, and he could see the spark of understanding ignite in the crowd. After the speech, people flocked to him, eager to engage in conversation. Jack felt a sense of purpose, knowing they were making real progress. Lila stood to the side, her smile radiant as she watched him connect with others. She was proud of him, and he was grateful to have her by his side, sharing this journey. As they left the conference, the buzz of excitement still crackling in the air, Jack turned to Lila. We did it. I can't believe how far we've come. I can, she replied, taking his hand. You've always had this in you, Jack. You just needed the right people around you. Their fingers intertwined, they walked into the sunset, ready to face whatever came next. Together, they were unstoppable, committed to their mission and each other. With the momentum they had built, they were prepared to take on the world, one mind at a time. The fight for ethical technology was far from over, but with each passing day, they felt more equipped to tackle the challenges ahead, and as they embraced this journey, Jack knew he had found his place, not just as a voice for ethical tech, but as a partner in a mission that transcended mere technology. It was about humanity, connection, and a future that honored both. As the stars began to twinkle overhead, Jack and Lila turned to each other, sharing a knowing smile. This was just the beginning. Together, they would forge a path toward a brighter tomorrow. With hearts full of hope, they stepped forward into the night, ready for whatever adventures awaited them, and so, the journey continued, with laughter, love, and the promise of a better future for all.